Welcome to episode 2 of the Dadger, where we get it all. We get sports, we get Badgers, we get parenthood. Today, we are lucky enough to be joined by father of two, former Badger, a 2003 Gatorade Player of the Year, a coach, a natural leader, Justin Ostrowski. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Adam. My pleasure. I'm looking forward to talking a little sports, family, and all the above.
So, you may have told me this already, but how'd you get the nickname Otto? I can't remember.
Well, I think it was my first or second year at the University of Wisconsin. Coach Palermo. I just think he got sick of saying Ostrowski all the time. And there was another fellow D lineman says, "Well, hey, Otto, that's abbreviation kind of. So just start calling him Otto." So ever since that day forward, any Badger alum or anyone that I became friends with at Wisconsin started calling me Otto.
Give us a little bit of background. Growing up in Portage, how you came to love sports, especially football. I assume football is your favorite sport.
Football is my favorite sport.
Yeah.
Basketball probably a close second, but I think my dad and even my mom they grew up in sports families, and they introduced me to sports at a really young age. And I had an older brother, Josh, and we would go back and forth, ever since we started walking. And they really pushed the park and rec and the activities in town here in Portage, and it kind of grew on both of us. And we had a really competitive neighborhood. We lived out in the country, 10 miles outside of Portage, and we had a lot of kids in the neighborhood. And you don't see it so much nowadays, but it's like the Sandlot baseball games, the
Yeah.
football games, the two-hand touch, and all summer long we played outside. So that really kind of
Yeah. I
evolved.
was just talking to my buddy about that. I was like, man, I just feel like you don't see kids like biking anywhere to go like just go to the park and shoot around or play some pickup football or something like that. But maybe it's because my kids aren't old enough yet, so I'm not seeing that side of it. What kids are doing nowadays.
Adam, now that I have a sixth grader and a third grader now, there's so much structured sports, right?
Yeah.
So many kids have so much going on now with their schedules, and you're playing multiple sports during seasons, right? Like it could be baseball season right now, and you're playing AAU basketball, um, or say basketball season, you're playing baseball. So there's so many activities and so much going on in these kids' lives now. It's hard, like and then you bring in the whole social media and the video games and all that. So
Yeah,
it
right.
definitely has changed since you and I played.
Quick little dive into your high school career. Said you did basketball, track and field, tried baseball, football. Were there any sports you couldn't do?
So when I got into high school, I was always you played baseball during baseball season, you played football during football season, you played basketball during basketball season. And then I was fortunate enough to play for Hugh Roberts over in Randolph, on a for a really, really respectable and a really great AAU program, starting in seventh grade. So I did that in spring and summer as well. And then my junior year, I decided to switch over to track and field, just so I could prepare a little bit more for Wisconsin, and get in the weight room a little more that junior and senior year. So I threw the shot put and I tried the discus, but that didn't go so hot. Uh, but those are my primary sports. So very grateful to have great coaches. And
So you officially made your decision by the time you were a junior that it was Wisconsin, nowhere else?
yeah, I'll give you a little overview. So my freshman year, Coach Wiesinger had me play varsity football. My brother would have been a senior at the time. And that point, like previous years, Portage football was really good. They made it to the semifinals a few years, lost to Germantown a couple years prior to me getting into high school. And he hadn't played many freshmen up on varsity. And then after my freshman year, I had a pretty successful freshman year. We were still in the South Central Conference at Portage. I went to the Wisconsin Badger football camp, and that went fairly well. And Coach Palermo, Coach Alvarez, kind of were watching and observing. And then the following summer, I went back to the Wisconsin football camp, and that would have been my sophomore summer going into my junior year. That's when Wisconsin and Notre Dame both offered. A week at, I went to Wisconsin first that week, and then I went to Notre Dame.
Yeah. So your senior year, you had 14 sacks, which is nuts. But the stats I was reading is you were 225, and one website had you clocked in at a 4.840. So I'm guessing you had both speed and strength down when it came to kind of your technique, your rush technique. Did you have a favorite move, or like did you prefer one over the other?
Um, really, so I always, growing up, I did a lot of my toes, right? So like they would make, like, even Josh's, my brother's buddies, and would make fun of me and call me Twinkle Toes, or so like just quickness, and I guess I was blessed with a little speed and strength and size, but really just work ethic and just outworking the opponent, and trying to do little things to have success and perform at a high level, and the one thing about football is you have to have a motor, and you have to have a little swagger, and I think just being, I guess, around my brother's class and around older kids growing up, and just being able to compete with each other over the years, that really helped, I think, pave the way.
Yeah, and to your point, I don't think a lot of people that haven't played football understand the motor that it takes to play line. Like you're in the trenches every single play. You can't take a play off, otherwise you're going to end up on your back.
You got that right, Adam. You really do. You have to. Be a little different. You have to have I guess, little type A personality, or I got to be hungry, right? And I think that comes with the upbringing that I had growing up, and just I think the culture that at that time Portage had with their football program and athletics in general, and I think having a goal and a vision as an individual. It was always my dream as a young kid to play college football, even to play for the Badgers. We had a guy in town here, Mike Thompson, someone that I truly look up to. He was on the 93 Rose Bowl team, and he ended up going to the NFL from Portage. And, just being able to have great mentors and role models and a coaching staff that really, really helped me get to the next level.
You stole a question right off my notes here. So he was 66, you were 99. Any correlation there, or you just 99 happened by chance?
Well, honestly, so like my freshman year in high school, I wore 66 kind of
Okay.
because of Mike Thompson. And then I switched to the 70s. I don't know if that was a size thing with the jersey or what. And then in college, my first year there, I was number 66 because Mike Thompson had it, and then someone else had it. And then 99 came available, and I wanted to switch to 99. So it was, more of a D line number, right?
Yeah, right.
At that time. So, but yeah, obviously, there's not many that have come out of Portage to play at the next level. So it was kind of cool to have someone like that to look up to over the years, and then be able to be at Wisconsin with that number.
As I said in the intro, you won 2003 Gatorade Player of the Year. So, like, after that happened, did you notice like a lot of people come out of the woodworks for like interviews, or did more schools try to contact you, or not really because you're probably already committed at that time?
Those camps I got offered by Notre Dame and Wisconsin, but even after the recruiting period ended, that junior year, a lot of schools still were contacting Coach Wiesinger. That was our coach at the time at Portage. And so you still had like the Miamis and the Iowas, the Minnesotas, most of the Midwest schools still contacting Coach. And everything's changed nowadays, right? In terms of the whole recruiting process, but there are still quite a few schools that did want to contact.
Yeah, so with the push from all those schools, did you kind of lean on him or your parents to make the best decision for you in your
I
college
think I
career?
think both. I think both. I think from the bottom of our hearts, I think being close to Madison and Wisconsin at that time, and with having a successful program down in Madison, it was kind of a no brainer at that time that if Wisconsin had interest, that I would go to Wisconsin for a number of different reasons. But so I mean, you always want to look at your options. Due to my earlier commitment to Wisconsin, I didn't take a whole lot of official visits. Actually, Wisconsin was the only official visit I did take. So,
Yeah, what was that visit like? Anything any good stories come out of that?
um, well, it was in December. I remember I had to play a high school basketball game at Wanakee during that official visit weekend. So I was back and forth.
Sure.
But it definitely was a great time. They show you the university. They take you out. You have a great time, and it just showed like the tradition and what they
Culture.
had going on at that time, and
Yeah.
it really made you excited. But yeah, they wine and dine. Yeah, they do it right. I mean, they treat you
Right.
like a 5 star, right?
I talked to you a little bit about this, but that it came up a couple times that list that I was talking about, where you were number 5 on the highest recruited Badger to ever go to Wisconsin. Um, the in you actually beat out a fellow teammate from your same recruiting class, Joe Thomas. Did you ever have to go against him in practice?
Joe played tackle, and I play more of the interior D
Sure,
lineman, so we didn't go against each other so much. And then, after I got injured that third year, obviously that changed things. But as far as the whole 5 star, 4 star, 3 star, great honor and everything. But as you get when you get to the university and stuff, it's such a equal playing field, and everyone's very talented. And obviously in the game of football, some of it's luck too with injury, and unfortunately I did get injured. After when I did get injured, I still had a long way to go in terms of footwork and hands and getting off blocks and everything like that. I felt like I'm on the right track. But as far as Joe Thomas, unbelievable, obviously, person
yeah.
and
So
player. I mean, it
when
shows with what
you
he did. So.
yeah, absolutely. So when you first got there, did it feel eh, like a completely different speed in terms of like game or even just how Madison as a whole is? Because that city's buzzing a lot. So as a
So
young kid and
that
highly
after
recruited.
and this is advice I even give to some of the fellow alum that come out of Portage that even go to play in the WEAC. The transition is very difficult. Like your structure, your daily routine, the expectations that those coaches have for you when you get to college. From waking up to weight training to going to school, the film study daily, weekly, monthly, and then the practice, and then obviously you got training table, which is and then you got study table. So like you're putting in 12 to 14 hour days as a student athlete, and I think that's a huge transition from high school where you're playing season to season, right?
Yep.
You're watching minimal film. You only got so much time with your athletes as a coach, so and then the speed of the game, you question there, like it's unbelievable, like how different it is, and with technique and strength and everything.
Yeah. So when you got there, obviously Barry was the head coach. I think your second year in there, Bielema was a D coordinator, right? They brought Bielema in 2004.
Yeah, so I came in under Coach Alvarez, and then it was Coach Cosgrove, and um, I believe Coach Bielma came in 2005, so it might have been my third
Okay.
year. And then there was a gradual plan for him to eventually take over, which he did.
So you've had two out of the Badgers' last six, seven head coaches, if you count the interim head coaches. Uh, do you think you could rank them so far from best to worst?
I don't want to rank them, Adam. I don't want to rank them, but
Okay,
I'll
okay.
I will say that highly
who's your
respected.
favorite?
I can't say nothing bad about any of the coaches I had at the University of Wisconsin. Different styles, which is not a bad thing. Coach Bielma is he's a player's coach, and he really gets buy-in from his players, right? And I think they truly care and love each other, and I think that's why he has success. I mean, he still has. I mean, he's doing a great job at Illinois,
Yep.
and he really helped me through my injury. So he kind of holds a special place there. After I got injured and allowing me to stay on, I guess, staff or in the program all the way through until I graduated. So that always something that I always remember. And then Coach Alvarez, I mean, he started recruiting me. I started going to Badger football games my freshman year at Portage, and that's really when they started recruiting me. And he was always, someone that was highly respected, and obviously his his win loss percentage and what he did at the college football level is amazing. How he built up the Wisconsin football program, um,
Yeah.
and he had great
Re-
assistance, right, with Coach
reason, yeah.
Palermo.
Reason he's got a nickname, the Godfather, right?
Right, exactly, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, to your point too, like it's always funny because, um, as you know, I interviewed Marquise Mason prior to this, and
Yep,
he, so many people didn't like Gary Anderson. And in my interview with Marquise was like, "Yeah, I love Gary Anderson. Like, he was a great coach." So it's
yep.
all in perspective, I think.
It is, right? And then
Especially to
there
the
might be like,
athletes, like
and then they might
fans don't
recruit a
really
little
see what
differently,
the
and
coaches actually do.
yep.
So, you got any good Barry Alvarez stories?
He had great pregame talks and just getting you fired up before games. And I know he wrote a book, Don't Flinch, right? And to this day, I look back on that, and I bring it out a couple times a year. And he was big on not flinching, winning the trenches, playing physical football, running between the tackles. Um, he was a developmental guy. I mean, he recruited Wisconsin heavy and walk-ons. Look at what he did with the walk-ons that came to Wisconsin, and he's touched so many, and he was just huge on development and playing the game and not making mistakes. And I really think repetition was one of his biggest strengths. With even that's why he had great assistants. Because he would rep and rep and rep until you perfected it.
You brought up a couple good points there. Do you like the Badgers historically, even kind of in basketball, kind of take these walk on guys or low star recruits and develop very, very well? Do you think with how the transfer portal and NIL and all that is set up now, that's pretty much non existent?
I think I don't. I think in football, I think you can still do it. I really do. I think it's a little tougher in basketball because the NIL with the money and everything getting handed out right now is really tough to keep kids at universities. But I think in football, you can still have that motto of playing physical football, bringing back your tradition. And I think that's what they did this year with that new offensive coordinator that came in from Kansas. I think it's a lot tougher. I think what you're seeing now, Adam, I think you're going to see a lot more mid majors or even Division two kids start there, right? Where maybe
Yeah.
Wisconsin was recruiting 5 to 10 years ago, that those kids now have to go somewhere like Central Michigan or somewhere. That's just an example I'm giving, and then produce and then come to a bigger school like Wisconsin. You're going to probably
Yeah.
see that a lot more now.
Yeah. So, not to jump here, but we did talk a little bit about your couple years at Wisconsin there, and we touched base a little bit on it. The injury. Can you walk us through that? How it happened and the following years because uh, it happened, and then you tried to push through for a couple years, didn't you?
Yeah.
After it happened.
Yeah, so it was. So I redshirted my freshman year when I got to Wisconsin, and then um, my second year as redshirt freshman, we had a ridiculous defensive line. Hawthorne, James, Jefferson, Welsh. I mean, unbelievable. They were on the front page of the Sports Illustrated. And then my
Mm-hmm.
third year, those guys had graduated, and I had high hopes. I mean, obviously, you got to work for spots, and you're never given a spot at a college level because they're bringing in kids, and everyone's pretty equal. I mean, a lot of talent. Slot in as Nick Hayden and I. He was from Heartland, and we were the two defensive tackles, and so got through the first few days of camp. Felt real good. Really liked where I was at, where we were as a defensive line. Had some really good young kids in the recruiting class that was right. Jason Chapman was one of them. A couple others. O'Brien Schofield went on to play in the NFL. And then the third day, we were just in our uppers, shoulder pads, helmets. No, we didn't have our pants on yet, and read a screen pass. We were doing a drill in practice, and the play before, the two guys had gotten into a little scuffle, drawing back and forth, and I read it perfectly. And our middle linebacker tackled our fullback, and his helmet right into my knee. I tore everything. Tore my PCL, fractured my kneecap, lost all my cartilage in my knee. I was laid up for a good while. I mean, tried to come back that same year. Um, it would swell up every time I would come back.
You tried to come back the same
Yeah,
year.
I tried to come back. I came back like in October. I traveled to Penn State. I would like travel every other week because it would swell up so bad and be so painful. I ended up going to Hawaii that year. And then I ended up having obviously they ended up having a couple cortisone shots just to get through the year. And then I did play the bowl game. So I came back and I started the bowl game, and that was great. We beat Auburn. We upset Auburn. No one had given us a chance. But then that spring I had knee scope, and they found that it was even more severe than they had thought, my injury. And I was bone on bone at that point already. And then I came back that following year and for camp. I got through all the workouts in the spring and summer. I came back for camp, and every time after practice or during practice, it would just swell up. It would be like double the knee size of my knee currently, and I just couldn't do it anymore.
You must
So
have a high as hell pain tolerance, dude.
yeah,
Like,
it
most
was
people don't walk on what you're saying, and you're playing D1 football on it.
it was rough, Adam. It was rough. It was brutal. But I think you grow to that's all you know, right? And you grow to love the game, and you try to play through it all, not only for yourself but for your supporters and your family. So I think that's what really was going on. And then I went out to New York. The New York Giants team doctor um, performed a microfracture surgery. And at that point, I had told the university that I was most likely done, right? We wanted to get a
Hmm.
second opinion to see what they could do just for longevity, to be able to play with my kids, be able to walk on it halfway
Right.
decent, normal. And I think that's what we've done. And I think that was a win. Now, 20 years later. Um, but yeah, it was a grueling, long, I guess, stressful, I mean, painful, mentally tough, challenging time in my life. But it's a small part, right? So you
Yeah.
try to
So
move on. It's hard to move on.
was there anyone that you like heavily leaned on, or like a mentor, parents that, I mean, because like you kind of alluded to, I'm sure it was absolutely frustrating and kind of demoralizing at times.
Yes, a lot of emotional days and nights and weekends and stuff like that. I give a lot of credit to my folks, my brother, mom and dad were huge in the whole process. My wife Amber, her mom and dad, even family friends here in town, even teammates at the University of Wisconsin, their families were very encouraging and positive and there for support. Coach Bielma, I can't say enough about him with what he did when I was at the university going through an injury. Behind the scenes, discussing stuff with him, just walking into his office at times, after I had already called it quits and I was helping in the weight room at the time, let me travel to the away games the rest of my career there at Wisconsin, everything. I mean, I'm very blessed and thankful that they gave me that opportunity to do
Yeah.
that.
So did they let you stay on as like a I don't even know what they're called, a student, like a student coach type of deal
Yeah, so
there?
kind of what happens after you get injured, Adam, is your scholarship doesn't count for the number of scholarships they have given. You become a medical non-counter. So I became a medical non-counter scholarship at the university, and then so many hours a week to maintain that scholarship, you have to give back and still stay involved. So
Okay.
the first year I was after I got injured, I helped with the strength and conditioning staff. Coach John Detman, Ben Herbert, Coach Brian Bott. Um, very, I guess, broad. I mean, when they needed someone, if I wanted to be involved, still see the teammates and that kind of stuff. Learn the business a little bit. Um, and then that's the my fifth year. Um, I helped on the field with like the scout team and that environment at practice.
Obviously, I know you've helped with coaching in your later years here at Portage a little bit. But like back then, were you ever, I mean, did it ever cross your mind to like try to stay on coaching with the Badgers, or go, maybe to like a D2, D3 college to help coach or get into coaching that way? Or was it like
Adam.
the
Ironically
the
enough,
injury was too fresh and it was too painful to be
well,
around
I think there
football?
was so much trauma at the time with the injury and just abruptly my career ending and not being able to play the game. And then Amber, my wife, she went to Platteville and she graduated, and we're very close to our families, right? So still live in Portage. Went to Portage. But yeah, coaching's always been, I guess, something I loved, and it's always been a passion of mine. In hindsight, do I wish I would have maybe pursued that career? Absolutely. But as we moved on and got jobs, I wanted to still be involved, right, with the youth and coaching, and that's something that I did do to kind of fill that void of missing it.
Yeah. So are you still helping coach basketball? I think it was basketball there at Portage. Or now that your kids are old enough, are you kind of trying to help coach their teams?
Well, just to give you a little overview, Adam, Football, I'm involved with the touchdown club in Portage here, so I'm on that, and I coach Landon, who's in sixth grade right now. He's going to be a seventh grader this fall, so I'll coach a seventh grade Portage team. It's been a fun run. We have great kids, great families.
For
And
football,
then
correct?
Lucas it will be his first year this fall for fourth grade football. So looking forward to that. See, typically the young one gets kind of the short end of the stick because I've stuck with Landon now, coaching him in every sport. I don't know if that's good or bad. He might tell you
Right.
different because I'm super hard on him, as you know how I am there, Adam.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll have both of them playing this year. So I'm just really involved with the kids' activities now and coaching them. I started coaching high school football right out of college there at Portage. Took a little break, and then Amber's dad was the varsity basketball coach, so I helped him for a few
That's
years
right.
as well.
Yep. Yeah. So you touched on another point here. So is it tough sometimes to take a step back because you are so competitive? Like, how do you balance out coaching your kid to improve without pushing them too far that they, end up not even liking the sport anymore?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I've learned a lot from Landon. I mean, I really have. He's a sixth grader, and I've changed already in a few years. It's You're in such a competitive environment. I think playing at a high level, and with my upbringing, my dad was super hard on me, so I think that kind of carries over too a little bit. And then just the expectation a little bit, and then you forget like how old they are, or truly, like, just relax, Justin.
Yeah.
It's gonna be all right. So it's
So,
definitely been a challenge. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a challenge, but I think if you look in the mirror and you understand like why you're truly doing this, and what you're trying to make a difference in the kids' lives, not only your own. I do this because I love coaching. Of course, it's great that my kids are involved and they love sports, but I do this, to try to make a difference and kind of carry over some of the life lessons that I was taught from all the great coaches I had and
right.
what I got taught at the university.
Do they have favorite sports yet? Or, I mean, I'm assume Landon does since he's in middle school, but is Lucas playing other sports other than basketball?
Right now, the little guy, the third grader Lucas, it's season by season. So baseball season, he loves baseball. Basketball season, he loves basketball. Football season, he loves football. Landon, I think he's starting to sway towards football. I think it's partially, he's a big kid and he's had success doing it, and he enjoys playing the O and defensive line. And we've had a lot of success at a young age. So obviously, it's about teaching fundamentals and making the kids love the game at this point. But I think that's kind of where he's leaning. But he also loves basketball too. So,
Yeah, he. I'm sure people tell you this all the time, but he looks a lot like you. So
well,
I
so
wouldn't be surprised if he's another. You got two D1 athletes there.
we would, well, so I'm not sure if you know, but he's coming off. He broke his foot about 6 weeks ago, playing in his first AAU basketball tournament. Just very bummed. We were all bummed as a family. Um, John Crawl, a good family friend. Our dads actually played together in Wittenberg, and then we played AAU for Randolph. John had a great career at Point, at Marshall, and he was Landon's AAU basketball coach. And it was going to be a great year.
I mean, did have you given him any advice or used any of the advice that you got from your parents, like passed along when you had your injury? Obviously, his is not as significant as
Yeah.
yours, but I'm sure being a middle school and sports is everything. I'm sure he just wants to get back out there and is frustrated in his own right.
Well, the great thing is he's 12 years old, right? So it
Right.
happened a lot earlier. So right now we're just kind of taking a step back, um, appreciating a little downtime, I guess. Right? We were go. But just making sure that he's fully recovered when he comes back, and healthy. That's the big thing right now at this age. Um, but yeah, we had our doctor's appointment last week, and the numbers, he's like 5'10" and a half. He just turned 12 in May, and my mom was like, "Yeah, you're about the same size and about the same weight, and he looks just like you." And
He does.
so, yeah.
So Lucas going into football, is uh he doesn't have the build of a lineman. Is he gonna be more of a skilled player?
Well, there's a weight limit, and I think he
Oh,
probably
that's
already
right.
passed with that weight limit. So
Yeah.
he's gonna have to really enjoy the offense and defensive line for a few years. And I said, you're gonna have a great time. It'll be fun. You get to hit people, and you get to tackle. So it might take a little bit of persuasion and some excitement to get him liking that, but he was really hoping he could run the ball, right? So any young kid does. So
Oh yeah. Every kid wants to be a skilled position.
right, absolutely.
So, have you shown the kids your highlight reels yet? Kind of brag and be like, "Hey, this is what I used to do to people."
There's always a couple times a year we
That's
bring
right.
out the Portage High School highlight video for basketball when we went to state in 2003, and then we always bring out the Capital One Bowl game against Auburn and a couple other games that I played in. We brought out the Purdue game. That would have been my redshirt freshman year when um, Scott Starks upended Kyle Horton, and they fumble return,
Okay. Yeah.
for a touchdown the
Yep.
last 25, 30 seconds of the game. No one thought
Yep.
we had a chance to win that game. So, yeah, it's been fun. I'm sure they probably get sick of me bringing them out all the time. And they're like, oh, Dad, you're not bringing this out again. I said, absolutely. We're going to show you.
Yeah. Basketball. I saw on the Portage website. You're like third all time leading scorer there still.
Hey, luckily I had a great point guard. No, but it was fun. We had a lot of fun. It was a blast. Lot of great memories there with a lot of great teammates. Fortunate to have some talent and a great coach. Our high school coach he did get inducted to the Wisconsin High School Coaches Association Hall of Fame. So
Yeah, you just got inducted into the Portage Hall of Fame, didn't you? A couple years ago.
I did a few years ago. Very honored. It was a pleasant surprise. Great honor, and to kind of live that tradition.
I got two last questions. I'll get out of your hair here. So, uh, if you can, piece of advice for your kids if they somehow stumble across this after the age of 18 when they're in college, say.
Um, just to soak it all in. Make sure that you're like a sponge, and to enjoy the moment. Really, it goes so fast. Have no regrets. Just make sure that you're having fun, you're hanging out with the right people, and everything will come together.
And then last, of course, since it is the Dadger, any predictions for the football team this year?
I think it's going to be another tough year. I still think we're another year away. Um, I
Yeah,
like, I like,
you and Marquise are not making me feel good about this year. I mean, I'm in the same boat as you guys. I thought the same thing, but I was hoping some, former athletes would have, you know, something better.
um, there's so many variables and so many challenges right now with what's going on in the whole recruiting landscape and NIL and losing kids, and then now changing our offensive philosophy. I think we're still another year or two away. I think it's going to be an improvement. I think you're going to see a huge improvement offensively. I really do. I think you're going to see some of the old Wisconsin ways coming back this year. So that'll be
Yeah.
fun to watch. The old
I mean,
tradition.
I'm I'm more nervous, I think, for the defense because Hunter Waller was he was the glue that held that defense together last year, and they were still giving up huge chunk plays. So I don't know who's stepping into that role for him on defense this year.
No, they did make some nice moves on the defensive line, so hopefully some of those guys pan out. I think our back end. I think you're right. I think it's going to be a process. It's going to be some growing pains there to see what happens. Hopefully they
But
grow up real fast.
yeah.
Because I,
But hey, we still got T.Y. Hilton's son. I'm pretty excited for that.
he's looked good this spring. I mean, I've seen a
Mm-hmm.
lot of great clips and highlights on him.
Yep. So,
So,
all right. Well, I'll let you get out of here. I appreciate you taking the time.
hey,
Um,
thanks for having me, Adam.
and
Appreciate it.
on Wisconsin, baby.
You bet on Wisconsin. Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.